Okay. Do you have anything that any points of view where you want me to change your mind? No.
So many.
Okay.
I don't know. Let me see what I had going on here on the old list here.
My next one is going to be hinging upon the same premise. Just so you're aware.
I need to refill the cup of freedom then, huh?
You might need to. Yeah.
All right. See, I have two.
Okay.
Okay. You want me to give you both and let you choose which one you want to dive into
just
first?
give me one.
Okay.
Pick.
There will be no professional sports played in 2020. I'm sorry. No, hold on.
That's false.
Well, I know,
Baseball's opening day will be July 24th.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. As soon as I said it, I was like, okay. I wasn't very absolute in that statement.
That's true.
I don't think that there will be a full season of a professional sport played and finished. So whatever baseball starts, I don't think they'll finish it.
Okay.
Whatever basketball starts up again, I don't think they'll finish it. Same thing with soccer.
Yeah.
And as much as I
think
hate to
baseball baseball you can't necessarily, you can already include baseball in this argument because they've already truncated their season. But
I'm saying I don't think they're gonna finish the truncated season.
I think baseball is the one closest to being able to do it because when you're on the field, regardless of where you're at on the field, you are socially distanced from everybody.
Have you seen some of those rules though?
Well, with the exception of somebody who's on first base and the first baseman getting ready to get him picked off or whatever.
No stealing.
What?
I believe there's no stealing.
I don't think that's accurate.
Some of the rules I was reading somewhere where some of the rules are pretty gnarly.
I don't think that's accurate. But there's not going to be any fans at these games, right? They're going to make all their money from TV deals and stuff. So the dugout becomes irrelevant. Now you can sit up in the stands and you can sit 6 feet apart, which kind of eliminates one of those things you were talking about with sports. You learn camaraderie in sports,
right?
And you develop friendships that last a long time.
That is also fair.
And so now you got to sit 6 feet apart, which they can accomplish that without having fans there. They can't really accomplish it unless they rope off a section and fans can sit around it.
I'm just saying, ultimately, what the athletes are going to be asked to sacrifice versus what they're going to get out of playing when this adjusted experience. I think
they're getting money out of playing.
But I mean, most of those player agreements, they're going to get money regardless.
But the ones the vast majority are the ones that aren't going to get money regardless. They're the ones that are getting money when they play, if they play, or if they suit up. And so they're going to have to play. Now, it may be more like a replacement season.
Yeah.
Because we've already heard a few of them, like Max Scherzer, I think is one. There's a handful that have come out that are big names that said, I'm not going to risk it.
Well, one of them, I think, has a baby that's coming up due, and I think it's their firstborn.
Sure.
And he was like, I'm not going to stay away from my family that whole period of time.
Well, stay away from the family, and then the baby is probably – the infant and the elderly are like the most at risk for being susceptible to a disease like this that could compromise their immune system.
Right, but I'm saying like the widespreadness of it. Like, for example, FC Dallas is it FC Dallas now? It's not the Dallas Burn.
I don't know, but you went from baseball straight to soccer pretty quickly.
Well, I just wanted to use this as an example because their tournament's starting soon.
Okay.
Soccer,
in my opinion, is the second sport that is most likely to finish because, again, the soccer field is so spread out.
Well, you're constantly moving. Very rarely is there more than two people like within 6 feet of each other. The biggest time they're within 6 feet is when two people are challenging outdoors for the ball. No, not necessarily 100% outdoors. MLS, I think, is. I don't think there's any completely self-contained indoor stadiums. I don't think.
Well, I would be. Well, maybe you might be right about that.
But anyways, they had so many players test positive. They had to pull the whole team from the tournament.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
So I'm saying
But what's going to happen now? I mean, this is a conversation me and you had yesterday a little bit about the getting affected a second time. Like, those numbers are extremely low. So if a whole team gets it now and they have to miss one tournament, they should be – wow, okay. Go around.
Yeah, I was like, who's picking it up?
Goodness. if they get it now and they miss one tournament, they should be good for the rest of the season.
Right.
Generally speaking, there may be one player who gets it a second time, but you can. That's what's different than him breaking his leg and having to sit out. Like, there's no difference there. So to me, that's probably the best possible scenario for this team. Pull themselves out for one tournament, everybody gets better.
Well, I think that's
and then
how
they're back in.
That's how they're finishing their season, though. I think is by what I mean by the tournament. I think they're trying to do it kind of like basketball and hockey. They're just calling it, and the top teams
I see.
that potentially had a chance. They're creating a tournament style
Maybe,
thing.
and that's possible. But I guess my
what
point
do you
is
think about college then? College and high school sports.
I find it very difficult for high schools to have sports seasons this year. I do not think when it's all said and done, we will have a full season of any sport. Maybe golf.
Yeah, because that even in the height of the shutdowns, that still went on to some extent. I mean, I'm sorry, it was the only sport that finished UIL here. I think was golf. Was the only one that got to go back.
Maybe.
Because I don't think softball did.
Well, if you think about golf,
Baseball
all you have
or
to do
soccer.
is one tournament to finish out the season.
Oh, that's fair.
All right, a state tournament.
That's
Who was
fair.
the best, or whatever? Who qualified, or if everybody qualified for regionals, just bring them all to state, and then the best one wins. I mean, so one 3-day tournament, and you're good to go. Everything else required weeks of planning and one team of 20 would play another team of 20, and then another team of 20, and then another team. And so how many kids are you involving in a daily playoff, And so to me, I hate that we got shut down from the standpoint of it was my first season as head coach. I had a team that
First place.
they would have challenged anybody they played. They may not have beat everybody just because that's the nature of sports. You may not win. But the point is that it would have been hard pressed for a team playing them to beat them because they were starting to fire on all cylinders, man.
Fun to watch, man.
And it was very difficult to take that emotionally, mentally. The kids, especially the seniors. The juniors, I'm sure, had an easier time, but still, they realized 14 of the 24 kids were seniors. So majority of the team's seniors. And we did well. We had to have done well, largely in part because of the seniors. Now, the underclassmen that were on the team aren't there by chance. Right, they're there because they earned the spot. They're good enough to play, or they're the best at the position, whatever the descriptors are that you want to put around it. And we have a great base of 10-ish, I forget how many specifically, underclassmen to move the team forward. And then we have people coming up that I think can complement them very, very well. So next year, if there's a season, I think we have a chance of doing really well. Okay, is it going to be the same? No.
Right.
Season to season, nothing's the same. Right? You just look at the argument with the Bulls. Right? The final outcome was the same. They played the same team twice. I think just one time, maybe a couple times. They played the same organization for the championship with the Jazz. 2 times there at the end. But every opponent other than that was different. The team's composition, the first 3 they won, the second 3 they won after the Jordan retirement, a different composition of teams. The records in the season were different, right? They end result ended up being the same.
Well, and going back to the Patriots, that makeup of those championship teams are just so vastly different every year.
Absolutely. So next year's team is not going to be the same.
Right.
Could it have the same result? I think
course.
absolutely they can if they they put their feet to the fire.
Okay, last piece of it. Are we going to see college football?
Yes, I think we will see some of it. I think we have to.
I don't
I think
see
colleges have to.
Financially.
Yeah, I think they have to.
Okay.
Now,
All right.
I don't know how that's going to look in the stands.
And I don't know how that's going to look on the positive tests.
Yeah, and what decisions are they going to be making based upon how they think it's going to affect their drafting? You know, if you were a junior
Drafting.
No, I'm saying if you were a junior, a sophomore or a junior, and you had a pretty incredible season, right, last year.
It's true.
And you after this season you were planning on declaring for the draft. Mm-hmm. If there's a chance that this is going to be a muted, like a augmented, shortened season,
Yep.
You may only get a few tune-up games
Yep.
before it's all called. Are you going to play or not? Because of how that might affect what your draft ranking is going to end up being.
Yeah.
So I think some of the bigger name players potentially, with more to lose, might sit out, especially if the NFL decides they're going to move the season to the spring.
This is going to be the year of choice.
Yep.
Where, generally speaking, your choices have an effect on you. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a season where coaches or organizations or whatever are going to be hard pressed to allow those choices to influence outcomes.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
and now that we're going down the rabbit hole, but even the same thing with some of the social issues facing the country right now, a lot of athletes with these different universities are saying,
yeah, that's fair. Let's see. That's the thing is that generally speaking, your choices have you have a repercussion for your choices that you make. What?
Ripple effect.
Okay. Yeah. And so you make a bad choice, it generally affects you poorly, right? Now, I'm not saying that someone who's, let's just say, the top running back in college this year, going into the year from last year, who's still in college, not already been drafted, he chooses to not play because he has that choice because of COVID and all this stuff, which to me, I'm not going to guarantee that that's going to happen, but I feel like that is the thing because like I've already seen it in school. There's been surveys sent out. Are you going to come back and teach if we meet in the fall, or are you going to prefer to do the online school? Are your students going to come in, or are they going to prefer to do the distance learning? And so there's we're going to see a conglomerate of that this year.
And our distance learning students going to be able to compete in UIL activities.
Exactly. So there's in high school, I can almost guarantee this, just from the standpoint of what I've seen and how reactive districts are. Okay, there's going to be meeting on campus for every teacher. There's going to be meeting online for every teacher as well. I feel like there's going to be a period. Now, listen, Trey can, if he's still on here, he can jump in and tell me that's not what he's heard. But I feel like there's going to be a mixture of today, every B day, this group of teachers stays home for high school. Okay. Every B day, this group of teachers stay home. I would not be shocked if middle school didn't go to kind of an A/B schedule, because of the potential to have these classes meet online only, or to have these classes meet online this part of the week.
See,
I feel like each teacher is going to be required to come in a couple days and be allowed to stay home a couple days to try to prevent the spread of stuff. And I don't know how that's going to work, but I feel like there's going to have to be some kind of a compromise in that regard.
See, I get the logic behind that, but from an application standpoint,
I don't see the application of it. I don't see how that could be applied.
No, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. I understand somebody sitting in a room saying, okay, what if we did this?
Yeah.
Best of both worlds, minimizing risk.
Right.
We can accommodate every need.
Yeah.
But application-wise, parents, what are they doing?
Okay, so first of all, on the application of that with parents, if they go into the year making the decision to do distance learning, it's going to be way different than the shutdown effect.
No, agreed. But I'm saying if you wanted your child to attend school in the new way it's going to be, and it was a go to school this day, go to school that day. These group of kids go in for this portion of the day. This group comes in this other portion of the day. I'm saying pick up and drop off and watching your child, who's not say babysitting, but you know what I mean, who's taking care of, who's responsible for your child during all these different things, these scenarios. I think it's going to be a challenge for the average working class parent. And what I've heard from some teacher friends and some, you know, my mom worked a teacher, some of her friends and stuff is, if you're a teacher, an educator like yourself, I mean, obviously, you know, you and Kelly share responsibilities, but if you were doing it, you know, if it was just you or both of y'all were educators, that could be super challenging because if in addition to their schedule being crazy, your expectation for when you're physically working and when you're telecommuting at home.
Sure.
You know, so I've heard there's
you'd have to pull a grandparent or a close friend or something that had the availability.
But
Absolutely.
I've heard and seen some where there's a fairly decent growing number, at least right now, of educators who, you know, 2-income households are staying home this year.
Okay.
So
yeah,
kind of crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. I didn't know how I could have changed your mind. You just kind of posed a question. You didn't really take a specific stance on the question you posed,
I think you
which
did.
is okay.